first question, justify the statement, knowledge is detrimental if not converted into wisdom. Am I right, Sanjay? Knowledge is detrimental. We're talking of the very scriptural knowledge that we are learning right now. The knowledge that we learn is detrimental if it is not converted into wisdom. Some of you may be familiar with the idea, but there are few points that would help us clarify this. Now, we must understand the knowledge that we are learning, the knowledge which is given by these great men, is just a raw material. The knowledge is just the raw material. The result, the end product of this knowledge is wisdom. So knowledge is an unprocessed state. It's a raw material. So anything which is unprocessed in a raw state is of no use. It doesn't serve the purpose. But when the knowledge is reflected, when the knowledge is digested, it becomes wisdom. So that we are just discussing on a question that we gave ourselves last week. A couple of you gentlemen, good to have you, sir. So we have a host of them online as well. You see them. Yeah, you can see them, no? Right. So knowledge which is not digested, in fact, so when the knowledge is not digested, it remains to be mere information. That is detrimental. That's what we are saying. So one of the first symptoms of acquiring knowledge and not allowing it to be converted into wisdom, as we understand, it's just a raw material. It's like the grains and the pulses you buy from the store has to go through a process of cooking so that it can be consumed. Similarly, the knowledge we receive from the masters has to be processed in order to bring about a transformation within. If it is not, then it doesn't help. It doesn't bring about a transformation. In fact, it's like me consuming raw grains. It will not be accepted by the system. So mere knowledge, when you receive without doing enough reflection to it, is detrimental. One of the first symptoms of having mere knowledge is you develop what is known as ahankar. Where there is knowledge, you develop arrogance. The first expression of knowledge is I know. The first expression, the moment you know something, you instantly start asserting, you instantly start becoming arrogative of that knowing. So unknowingly, even you have this Vedic knowledge, you have the highest of knowledges, if you don't process it and if you don't gain wisdom, it gives you ahankar, it gives arrogance. But on the contrary, when the knowledge is digested, when the knowledge is processed and reflected, it gives you humility. It makes you humble. So a knowledge which should give you humility gives you arrogance. The first side effect of merely accumulating knowledge and not reflecting is ahankar, Sanjay. First is arrogance. All right? Take note. Second point is, when you merely gain knowledge, you gain a false sense of having achieved a state where you don't belong. Not supremacy. I'm saying you think you have reached that state, what you talk about. For example, I'm talking about a certain spiritual state. By sheerly talking of it, by knowing of it, being well informed, well read, I'm able to twist these Vedic texts, I'm able to quote them, I'm well read. So a natural effect of that over a period of time would be, I start assuming that I've reached that state. I falsely believe that I have reached that state when I'm not yet reached that state. Because of so much knowledge I have, it makes you assume a state where you're not reached. That's deadly. Because you speak of it so well, you talk of it so well, and you also convince others of it. It almost seems you have reached it, but you're not. Second possibility. The third is, when you only have knowledge and no wisdom. Just to clarify, sir, wisdom is when you live it. Knowledge is just know it. I know many things, but when I don't live it, there comes, Sanjay, when you have knowledge and you don't live it, what comes along with it? The third point.
I'm with you up to now, but I'm thinking that what comes with it might be, you start believing that it's not useful, that it doesn't have any value. You start devaluing that knowledge if you don't live it.
Sadly, people don't realize that. Those who are behind information, they don't realize it. So when you have information and don't live it, what comes along with it is guilt. Because you are not able to live by the values you may appreciate, may advocate, but you don't live it. So there's a guilt that comes within you. For example, the Shastras say, you must not revel in the senses. One who lives a life of the senses, one who lives a life worshipping the senses, all the joy is like, he says, wombs of sorrow. It's all only sorrow. You are seeking false happiness. Now I may talk of it on one hand. Another hand, I'm constantly reveling in the senses. I'm well informed what the Shastras are saying. Another hand, if I'm reveling in the senses, what is the result of that? What is the effect of that? Isn't there a guilt? I know so much, and yet I am not living by it. It's like a simple example, Sanjay. A person who's diabetic knows he is not supposed to eat sweets. He knows very well, but he's not able to control his tongue, his weakness for sweets. So he knows it, and yet he is not able to live by that knowledge. What comes? Guilt. You're not able to control that. So knowledge gives you guilt. Watch out. Am I making sense, Sanjay?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Knowledge should give you comfort, but knowledge is detrimental, dangerous. What we all are here is to seek wisdom, not knowledge. But if you just leave it with knowledge, it's dangerous. So first we said, it gives you arrogance. Second, it makes you believe a state you have not reached yet. Third, it creates a guilt within. Fourth, as you keep acquiring mere knowledge and not converting into wisdom, the disparity between what you know and what you live widens. The bridge widens. As they say colloquially, they say, "Arey wo baat hi karte rehta hai." He just talks. He never lives up to what he says. So as the knowledge is just acquired and continue to acquire, and you don't convert into wisdom, the gap between knowing and living widens. And that others are very, very sharp to pick it up. Others notice it. You may not notice it. So the gap between knowing and living widens. Yes, Sanjay.
Just a quick question. So is that reflective of when in the Gita before we heard the types of devotees, and one of them being that he who just comes to seek wisdom, knowledge? That's
Jignasu,
that type.
yes.
Jignasu. Okay, that's the.
There are people in the Gita elsewhere. He says there are people. If people come to only seek information, they're just information hunters. Mere curiosity. So you go to a guru or you go to seek a particular text just to satisfy your intellectual curiosity. And once you're satisfied, you start searching for another text, another interpretation, another guru. You just want information, variety. And that's all, there all it ends, nothing beyond that. Spiritual shopping. Shivaji is saying spiritual shopping. Okay? In fact, in the verse you're referring to, he says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritinorjuna artho jignya surartharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. So in that verse, he says 4 types of people come to seek me. He says one is just merely seek material returns. Some come to seek emotional. Some mere jignasu, curiosity they come. And then he calls the last is a jnani. So he differentiates between information hunter vis-a-vis those who seek wisdom. That's the difference. Okay? Right. Yes, Setuji?
Hariom Guruji, I just you mentioned about widening of the gap. I remember when I was young, there was a big discourse in parade grounds where more than 50,000 people were there. He was a very well-known preacher, and when he was talking about anger and why one should not get angry and all. Very next moment, he got angry with his accompaniments. There was a mridangist and there was another harmonium or something. He was getting angry and the entire audience noticed and were talking about it.
So you make a fool of yourself in front of 50,000 people. So what's important is all these qualities reflect in all of us. Huh? It's very much there. Okay. So the 5th point is when you have knowledge, the knowledge you have, you unsettle others. You unsettle others. Unsettle means what? You follow, sir, what I'm saying? When you have mere knowledge, you unsettle others. Unsettling means what? Your good name, sir? S.N. Rao. So the online can hear you.
Yeah, I am SN Rao.
Yes, sir. So, in fact, I know you're coming for the first time here.
Yeah, I'm coming for the first time.
Most of the satsangs are very interactive. So there's always a dialogue.
Yeah.
So it's almost 60-40. 60% they talk, 40% I talk, So sometimes it's 90-10. So I only say yes, no. Most of the time they talk, So the question, don't be intimidated if I get into a dialogue with you.
No, not at all.
Because that's a methodology we adopt.
Yeah,
so the question we are saying, the fifth point is, when you have knowledge, you go about unsettling others.
Yeah, that means what I understand is you are creating a kind of a curiosity in his mind by the knowledge that you possess.
Curiosity in
the whomever mind you're unsettling.
So unsettling means you disturb them.
That's what.
Disturb them. So I have learned something new.
Yes.
I have learned something higher. I've just been informed. But the moment I learn, I pounce my views, I impose my views on others.
Yes. So once you have expressed yourself with the kind of knowledge you have with you, and I am a person who probably does not know anything about it, now you created a kind of a curiosity in my mind. He is saying something which I am not aware. Now I have not understood what he is trying to convey or whatever knowledge he is trying to express. So I would like to know more and more from you, to seek information which I don't know. So that's how I am a little bit unsettled, or I am a little bit disturbed.
Sir, if I may clarify,
Yeah, please.
If I have something higher, it becomes my obligation to inspire you.
Yes. Yes.
It is not my duty to unsettle you.
Yes. But
There's
that's
a
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I am now a little bit disturbed. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Is I am now unsettled. You have aroused the curiosity in me. The curiosity itself is an unsettling nature.
I would, in fact, if you allow me to say, if I have unsettled you in the right sense, if I've inspired, it's inspired you.
Yes.
That's inspiring. Oh my God, there's something wonderful I need to learn. I've not learned all these days in my life.
Yes.
That's inspiring. Yes. So allow me to take an example of a lady, a student colleague of mine. I can't recall her name. She was from Mumbai, a very well-to-do business family, very well-to-do family. And she had Mana, I remember her name, Mana. She joined the ashram, very affluent family. She spent 1 year or so in the academy, the 3-year residential course. And for 3 years, we're not allowed to go to the homes. But Pune and Bombay are not far. So Swamiji was actually going there for a lecture tour. So, and the whole student also went there, and upon request, she was allowed to stay in our house. Special permission she got from Swami, okay, you stay for 4 days, provided you come and follow all the activities. Now, one year she was in the ashram, she tasted the ashram life. She got back to her family, knowing that she's coming, the extended family came and they started having get-togethers and socializing for a few days. Now, this girl was boiling within, because she has learned the higher values of Vedanta. She understands the value of what it is to embark on this, and they were indulging to the core. And then she couldn't tolerate. She went and blasted them, blasted her own parents and cousins, and said, what is it you people are doing? Do you know the purpose of life? Is this all what life is? To squander your money and indulge in the senses? Is this life have no purpose for you? And she started lecturing to them. Somehow, the parents didn't say anything for that 4 or 5 days she was there at home. She said, this girl has learned something new. They just let pass. But later on, the father became very insecure. Not believe. 3 cars, I remember a convoy of 3 cars came from Mumbai. A police escort came with a letter that they want to take their daughter away, because the daughter was still a minor. She was just 17 or below 18. So the father came by force and took her away. And Swami said, I can't do anything. The father is the guardian. She's still a minor. I have no say. If you think you want to take her back, I will have no objection. And the whole ashram saw her. And this girl was crying, falling at the feet of Swamiji. Swamiji, please help me. I want to learn this knowledge. 3 days she went home. And the result of that is she never came back to the ashram. The father was certain that what she was doing is wrong. What Mana did was she went and unsettled the parents. She did not inspire the parents. She didn't inspire her cousins and nephews and niece that there's something valuable, something you can learn today. There's something new I'm learning, I would like to share. No, she went and disturbed their life. That's unsettling. A man of knowledge unsettles others. A man of wisdom inspires others. Sure, not to show off. You genuinely feel what you're doing is wrong. Sir, from a higher point of view, isn't the lower darkness, sir? From a higher point of knowledge, isn't lower ignorance? But the mere knowledge unsettles others. A man of wisdom inspires, raises them. This is the difference.
Yeah.
You get the difference?
Yeah, I got it.
So unsettling is to disturb, sir. Other is to inspire. So beware, Sanjay. The more knowledge you have, Vasanta Rauma, get the point? This is one of the things we see in many homes that happens. You go about unsettling others. You can relate to it, isn't it, ma?
Yes, please.
So what are the 5 points we said so far?
Knowledge without wisdom leads to ignorance or arrogance. Sorry, not ignorance, arrogance. Mere knowledge makes us believe that we are in a state that we actually are not. I think then you mentioned that acquiring more knowledge, not having wisdom, increases the gap between knowledge and wisdom. Just knowledge
Unsettles others. 5 points, huh?
Yes.
It creates arrogance, a false sense of knowing, a sense of guilt, a disparity between knowing and living, and it goes about unsettling others.
How can we balance both?
Balance what?
Unsettled and person who is having knowledge. Because different ideas and whatever the knowledge he got is different from others. So what is the compromising?
Pushpama is asking, I'm trying to understand your question. Hold on to the mic. How do I balance between what?
Between knowledge what we got
The knowledge what we have and
the other person's ideas like.
how do you balance your values and others' value systems? End of the day, each one is living by their value systems, isn't it? Can we say so?
So we are not unsettling their minds.
Now the question is, with the knowledge you have, how should you not unsettle others? Am I right? Ajay, question? Is that the question? The question Pushpama is asking is, with the knowledge you have, how should you not unsettle others? I think the most difficult thing to do is let others be what they are. Rather than, this phrase is something which really, it sounds very poetic, but I keep saying it. Do not become a custodian of others' conscience. Custodian means, I don't take ownership of your conscience, means who am I to decide what Pushpama is doing right or wrong? Means I am deciding that is right for you or wrong for you. Who am I to do that? So if I respect you for what you are and you live the life what means something to you. And if I live a life which means something to me, and along the way, if I inspire you, I've done my job. So quietly, if you start admiring, oh, what Vinayji is doing is very commendable, I would want to follow what the Shastras are teaching, what he is doing. If I'm able to inspire you, I've done my job. Rather than coming and lecturing to you and telling what you're doing is not right. Then you go against the law of nature, which is, the law of nature is, anything forced is never forceful. So you, by imposing your views on others, you can't change them. Remember that. If I force my views onto you and bring about a change in you, it'll only backlash. That's the reason the younger generation are revolting, isn't it? Your children, your grandchildren revolt. Why? Because as parents, you start like what, you become wardens. Huh?
Hitler, they say.
Huh?
Hitler, they say.
Hitler. You're bulldozing your views onto them. They would not respect. So inwardly, they don't respect you. They also see double standards. So the best way is to let them be what they are. And if you can inspire them. So you don't unsettle them. Just respect them for what they are and do something which you can inspire them. And the only way you can inspire them is by you living the knowledge. The moment one of the fundamental things, we're missing the point here. When is it that you unsettle others? Ramji, one of the important points with knowledge we're missing, sir, here. I want you to pick up that line, that aspect. When is it you invariably unsettle others?
Namaste, Guruji. I think you try to take a higher position and then try to disturb their mind in terms of what they should do. And that is one area which I think if you do it very forcefully, then that can unsettle others. Sometimes your level of knowledge that you express, relevant, irrelevant, whatever it is, can also unsettle others. Many times we see people coming and vomiting out whatever they have collected, knowledge. I think if you don't know where to apply that knowledge, so knowing where to apply each piece of knowledge is wisdom, more or less. I mean, if you digest and then know where to use it, then that will be comfortable for others and they will get inspired. But if you don't know where to use that knowledge and you keep parroting it and then showing it off and then trying to, believing that what you know is right, but still not carrying people along, not getting a buy-in from them before actually. So if you're imposing it on them, then that can also create a unsettled feeling.
Sir, you didn't pick up my punchline, sir. You didn't finish the game, sir. You played a
straight bat.
Very well, sir, but finishing stroke you didn't play. Remember, sir, the most important, the principle of knowledge is, the fundamental principle of any knowledge is never given.
Yeah, it is always taken.
Knowledge is always taken. So you will unsettle people by giving knowledge when they don't want it. But when knowledge is sought, when people come and take it from you, then it's not unsettling. It's like I say, I know Rao Garu now, and I come to know that he lives in the vicinity. Okay, Rao Garu has come to this foundation to seek this knowledge. Appa, now I got a chance. Whenever I see him, I find out where his house is, knock at his door, and he welcomes me into the house. I go and start lecturing to him. A point will come, you say, Namaskaram, sir, I appreciate you, what you're doing, but I'm sorry, I'm not available. Politely, you will say, thank you very much. Because why? Because I am giving to you when you're not seeking it. So knowledge, when it is given, it tantamounts to unsettling others. But when it is taken, it transforms others because they want it, not you giving it. It is not going to get filled. They should want it. And when will they want it from you? Only when you have some substance, when you have some wisdom. Isn't it, Ramji?
Yes, sir.
So that clarifies it, isn't it?
Yes.
Pushpama, does it help? So let them be thirsty for knowledge. Till they want it, don't give it. Trishna, thirst must be there. Venkatramji, all okay?
Yes, all okay.
So this is one of the typical qualities of a leader, sir.
Yeah.
A leader should never impose his views on others, isn't it?
Yes.
Rather, you should inspire them to come up to you, isn't it?
Yes.
Right, sir. I think Venkat, Mr. Venkat,
Namaskaram, Guruji.
Namaskar.
Guruji, I am Venkat Apparo Palakureti, but when I am logging, from my phone, it comes as
Why?
Venkat Palakureti.
Vasantama, what is happening? I couldn't recognize who is this stranger here. I was almost about to get very angry at him now.
Guruji, I am actually driving, so I could not, switch on my video.
Please, but are you driving or are you being driven?
I am driving, and I've been driven. I've been driven by a purpose.
No, as long as you're able to concentrate. Please go ahead, sir.
Guruji, in fact, I forgot to introduce my friend. He is Wing Commander SN Rao. So he is my childhood friend, and he has shown interest to join our group. And that is, I forward the link to him. Then that is how he is here. So, and also with regard to our discussions, we also talked about Jignasa, that is seeking information. But the term Jignasa, the way it has come out when I'm listening to the whole discussion, is that it has come out as a negative connotation. But when Jignasa is considered as a very important requirement for any human to seek wisdom. For example, if we read the Brahma Sutra, the very first sentence says, the very first sutra says, Athato Brahma Jignasa. So that is something which I wanted to express, Guruji.
No, I get what you're saying, but when someone doesn't pursue till the very end, it has a negative consequence. As we said, the mere information without giving you the necessary transformative result, that exercise by itself has no meaning. That's what we are saying. In fact, on the contrary to mere jignasu, we say a person who seeks wisdom has the mumukshatva, the desire not just to gain wisdom, but desire to seek ultimate transformation. Mumukshatva is the desire for liberation. That's a positive connotation. So, it is in a very specific context is being used, sir. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Right, Ji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, sir. Hari Ji.
Guruji, only knowledge without wisdom. You said that might unsettle others. But I equally am I audible, please?
Yeah, can you be a little louder, please? A
Yeah,
little louder.
you said that the knowledge, mere knowledge without wisdom can be dangerous because it may unsettle others.
Yes.
But I find it definitely that is a danger. But to me, the more danger is not only unsettle others, it might unsettle oneself, because I will be only after knowledge, and that can unsettle myself. That is one question. The other one is when should I know that it is enough, gathering of knowledge is enough. Now let me put the knowledge that I have gathered into experience or practice or to do sadhana. When should I put a stop, and how will I know it?
So two questions you're asking, Hariji, here. First is, doesn't the knowledge unsettle oneself as well, not just unsettling others? In fact, all along it's unsettling you.
Yeah.
Arrogance is unsettling you. There's a disparity between knowing and living.
Yes.
Also, a false sense of assuming a state is also not good. Creating a guilt is also unsettling you. All that is no good for you. Right? But you must understand, a man of mere knowledge unsettles others. That's a very powerful point to be noted.
Yeah.
So that, I suppose, answers the first question. The second question is, when should I stop the process of learning and start living?
Yeah.
So the answer to that is, the sixth point is, you must always keep the right proportion. The proportion of knowledge and wisdom. When this proportion is not kept in mind, you will get into a state where the knowledge becomes detrimental. So what is the proportion? We are often told the proportion is you must have 20 to 30% knowledge and 70 to 80% reflection. So I would say 30-70 or 20-80.
Okay.
Means if you receive 20% knowledge, you must spend 80% of time reflecting on the acquired 20% knowledge. When this is not done, it's like if you're opening the book after the Sunday class only the next Sunday morning, then what is the reflection?
0%.
0%.
Yeah.
But at least once in a while you must open the book and read what is it that was said. Correct, Shivaji? Instead of coming up in the, what text are we doing? You know. In fact, in the ashram, every lecture session was backed up by a study session. So in a day, if you are listening to 3 hours of lectures, we actually spend more than 6 hours of time for self-study. Including the early morning 4 to 6 Brahma Muhurtam is left to yourself. No guru will come and lecture to you at 4 to 6 a.m. That's the time you got to do this Swadhyaya Yajna so that you reflect and convert the knowledge into wisdom. The early hours is the most auspicious. So the proportion of, let's say 30 to 70, that must be maintained. So don't go about listening to lectures of others. Sit in front of the mirror and lecture to yourself. That is what a reflection is. So please order a big mirror from IKEA, sir. Very good quality mirror they have. Perusa or big mirror, life size mirror. Order பண்ணிட்டு, sit in front of it and talk to yourself. True reflection. I suppose we all should do that. I'm not just having a go at you.
No, I understood what you mean.
You get it, sir?
Yeah, I understood what you mean.
So, therefore, once that is there, you are all constantly ensuring that the conversion is happening, which is information to wisdom. That process is constantly happening. But if this is not done, then you're just acquiring knowledge, and it's like saying a man with mere knowledge and no wisdom is like carrying gold on a mule's back. There's often an example given. If a mule, you're carrying solid gold bars on a mule's back. What is it to your mule? It is just a burden. If it has a ounce of sense, it will sell one bar and it will be chauffeur driven. But the mule has no brain. It is carrying that load of gold all over, not knowing the worth of gold it's carrying. Similarly, you don't know the value of the knowledge that you're carrying. If you convert it to wisdom, you reach a very exalted state. But you pay the price, not reflecting. Okay, sir?
Okay, thank you.
How do we convert this knowledge into wisdom instead by living it?
No. In fact, the second question we have given is how do you convert knowledge into wisdom? I'll come to that. In fact, if you have converted knowledge into wisdom, you live it. Wisdom is living knowledge, sir. But how to convert, I'll just mention. I have one more point here. So, the last point is, Sanjay will definitely agree with me that knowledge is certainly detrimental. If it is left unconverted, understood? If you have not converted into wisdom, is detrimental. Therefore, ignorance is bliss, wisdom is bliss. In between, only dangerous. As I say, ignorance is bliss. No problem at all. A man of wisdom also is reveling in bliss. So a fellow who is in no man's land is a problem. Kada? Bliss also? Dangerous. Huh? No, in a way, I'm just, in a casual note, I'm saying, ignorance is bliss. Means, is it better off knowing and not living? I do not know. You decide. Which is better off? Sanjay, is it being in ignorance or knowing and not living? It's a very difficult choice to make.
Knowing and not living is definitely not the way to be. It's I would take ignorance over that, because then at least the door is still open to wisdom later. But if at the moment, if you're just acquiring knowledge and rejecting it, not living it, then you're on the wrong path. Yeah,
you're right. In fact, ignorance is bliss, is tamas. Knowing and not living is rajas. Having wisdom is sattva. A sattvic man has wisdom. One who has knowledge, like they say, empty vessels make a lot of noise. You have it, but you don't live it. That's rajasic state. Tamas is shrouded in ignorance. So that gives you a picture as to how knowledge can be detrimental. Okay, Sanjay? Sanjay asked the question last week, so we're going back to him. Okay. Now, the obvious second question we had is, how do we convert knowledge into wisdom? Anybody has answers? Yes, Ramji?
I think reflection and practice will be the routes to do that. But I think you also need a guru to do that. That conversion of knowledge into wisdom, in many cases, I mean, it could be wisdom, not just spiritual wisdom. It could be even other knowledge you might be having. If it is not, like for example, you have developed a technology. For example, this entire COVID thing came out of a laboratory in China, right? So you have developed a technology, but you don't know how to use it. So if you have a mentor, if you have a guru, if you have somebody in that knowledge space who guides you on how to use that technology, that you can pick up. So I think a guru will help, but otherwise reflection and living the knowledge is something which will help you to convert it into wisdom.
Gayatri Ma, how do you convert knowledge into wisdom, Gayatri Ma? You can't switch on your camera there?
Converting is only through reflection and living the knowledge we have understood.
Come again, Ma, sorry?
It is through reflection, swadhyaya in the early morning. And second is living to that knowledge, whatever we learned.
The first point you're saying is?
Swadhyaya, early morning reflection.
Right. In fact, sir, one of the most important exercises of converting knowledge into wisdom is Manana. Shravana is listening. When you listen to someone, you gain information, you gain knowledge. But when you do reflection, that's when you convert knowledge into wisdom. Nididhyasana is you have reached a state where your mind has become mature and you have become meditative, which is a very high spiritual state. So in fact, we can say knowing, reflecting and living. There are 3 stages. Huh? No, you're missing the point. I'm not talking about practicing. There are as I've said, there are 3 stages. The first stage is Shravana. Shravana means listening. Now this exercise takes care of the ignorance at the first level. The first level of ignorance is I don't know. If you don't know, you lend your ears, you learn from someone. The second is through Manana. Reflection. Now this takes care of the second level of ignorance. I don't understand. I know it, but I don't understand it. I don't understand what? I don't understand the relevance of the knowledge in my current situation. How do I apply it into my life? How do I deal with my challenges? How do I apply it? I don't understand all that. So reflection helps you to take care of that. The third is Nididhyasana. Now, this takes care of the last level of ignorance. I don't have experience of it. So if you understand, there are three levels. I do not know, I don't understand, I don't have experience. So there is knowing, there is reflecting, and then there is living. Now, I'm just putting it as boldly as possible. Knowing, and living. So simply I'm putting three steps. Knowing it, living it. But there is no effort being put in trying to understand what these great men are saying. And the actual growth, understanding comes through your own studies, not by merely listening to others, but by doing study, by questioning, by trying to understand the values. That's how you will come to the last phase where you have actually the experience. So many people only do Shravana. They just listen. They don't do reflection. And reflection is something which is done by the student. Shravana is the knowledge given by the teacher. So the teacher gives his wisdom to you through knowledge. But if you want to gain wisdom, you have to do exactly what the teacher did. What did the teacher do? Did abhyasa, did sadhana. So when you do the same exercise, you get wisdom. Correct. Is exactly the example, best example taken is the food that you eat has to be digested by your system, isn't it? And then the food digested gets circulated through the body, it gives vitality. Exactly the same way, the knowledge which, now let's say, what you have learned knowledge today, sir. Let's say you're a fresh, or even what you learned is very fresh today. It's like food you eat. If you don't digest this knowledge, what will happen? It becomes sick because it will not serve you. Like the food I consume, if it's not digested, accepted by the system, it makes me sick. So, a perfect example of reflection is given of cattle. Cattle, what they do? Venkatramji, what do cattle do?
Cud over and over again.
Sorry?
They keep chewing the cud over and over again.
They keep chewing the cud. So you're doing the same thing, Venkatramji?
Trying to do it.
Can you tell us how you're doing it?
By reflecting whatever you're teaching whenever we have time. Yeah.
Don't do it literally, sir. So the reflection is compared to like cattle when they sit at leisure, they bring the food back into their mouth and they chew it again. That process of regurgitating the knowledge and trying to analyze and examine its relevance into your life is reflection. And you do that by yourself. When you do that, you'll obviously have doubts and clarifications. So when a student comes back to a classroom, A teacher knows when the student asks a question whether the student has studied, whether he has struggled with the question or not, the teacher knows. There are sometimes students ask questions without any thought. The teacher says, think about it and come back. First think about it, then you ask a question. So that process of reflection helps convert knowledge into wisdom. That is when transformation happens. The transfer is effective. Effective. So the onus is on you to receive it, to process it, and then live it. The Guru is just a symbol. He gives you a direction. This is how you must go. You must tread the path. You with the guidelines, yeah, obviously. It's like a mere GPS. You can on the GPS, you don't move any further, you will remain where you are. It will show you the destination, but you must go towards the direction given, isn't it? I think this is the missing link. Why there is so much knowledge but very less wisdom. The missing link is there is no enough reflection being done. Okay?